Hello, my YouTube family. This is Mahadeva, the OG Thunder Wizard. So today I want to talk to you about something I've been thinking about, which is the power of Saturn and how important Saturn is to your success. As you know, we've got the whole Saturn moon matrix thing, which is very interesting for people to look at, right? And Saturn is blamed for a lot of people's problems and should be. And the reason for that is that Saturn is the objective, unmovable witness to your actions and your true motives. And so Saturn is seen as this evil, horrible tyrant that causes all kinds of problems. And he's seen as Kronos, the Greek god who gobbles up the children, he eats his own children. And of course, this is very popular among a lot of people, especially those who follow David Icke and things like that, and they want to talk about how Saturn, this, that, and the Saturn moon matrix and all that. But what if Saturn were your best friend? And what if you just simply weren't listening to what Saturn wants to give you? So Saturn has two faces. Saturn is either evil and foreboding and dark and heavy and oppressive, or Saturn is the true liberator who liberates without personal agenda. And there is a key that you can use to control Saturn. Saturn is the planet of control, limitation. But there is a key that you can use to control Saturn. We have short memories. And when I think about problems in life in general, because I work with people on almost a daily basis, and I work with people helping them overcome their problems in their life, and as you know, helping them find their greatest joy and freedom and all that. And I am also a human being, and so I'm no different than anybody else. And we all suffer from this limited memory. We are fully aware of the negative things in our life. The thing about karma just means the result of your actions. It doesn't mean anything else. It's not it's not a punishment. And there's nobody who has a list, of things that you've done that you need to be punished for. Your life being reborn into this world is not a result of negative karma. That's a whole other thing. Becoming born as a human being is your choice. You chose to do it. And you chose to do it knowing that once you made the commitment to become human, that you were committing yourself for multiple hundreds, thousands of lifetimes. You knew that going into it. And you knew going into it that the adventure was going to be having to see the effects and to take responsibility for the actions and the choices that you made. It's an interactive video game. That's why you came here. But we forget. We come into each new life not remembering. We only know that this is the only life we have. Some people might have past life visions or feelings or even some memories. But, let me give you an example. There was a comment on the channel not too long ago, which I thought was pretty typical of people. And this is somebody responding to another one of my Saturn, escaping the Saturn moon matrix videos. And this person says, Is the cosmic joke to wake up and then forget? We designed this trap to appear real, so the joke is on us. Now, this person isn't telling me whether or not they are agreeing with me or whether they're complaining about it, because you can do that either way. You can laugh at yourself and go, ha, the joke is on me. To wake up and realize that I designed this so that it looked real. And for other people, most people who respond to things I have to say about choosing to become incarnated, they say, why would I choose to be brought down into this hell? And the assumption of that, which I know is their experience, is that it already existed and is being unfairly imposed upon you, that you're an innocent victim, that you just walked into this and it came onto you. Now, that is definitely the case for some people who are born into difficult and challenging circumstances. But I've been on this planet for a while. In fact, I just turned 57, so I've been here for a while. And I've had the fun privilege of watching some people from birth, all the way up into their middle age. And I've watched them make choices throughout their life. And there's a few of them that are absolutely convinced that they have been targeted by you name it. And that the world is doing it to them, and that God is doing it to them. And yet I've seen them their whole life. Now, if you were to meet these people on the street, they would be very convincing and tell you how all of these horrible things has happened to them, and these people have done it to them. And you would have a very hard time finding a flaw in the things that they said, because they would explain all kinds of life circumstances. Except I've watched them, and I've watched them continue to make choices and continue to take actions that get them into these self-recurring streams of karmic payback. And I've also seen in my life what has happened when I take continuous action that is very oftentimes 100% contrary to my thoughts, feelings, and impulses. This is the definition of consciousness, by the way. Consciousness isn't magically having your third eye open and being able to see everything without any problems. That's not consciousness. Consciousness is having the ability to know what actions to take in spite of any negative thoughts, feelings, and impulses that you may have. Not being able to resist your impulses is arguably the worst slavery there is. But the truth is that nobody is a slave, no matter how difficult. There are some people that are born into very difficult circumstances who have mental and emotional disorders, who have difficulty knowing what's accurate, who have difficulty going through life and resisting their impulses. They have made very strong impulses, but in terms of how to get through life, everybody has the same standard, no matter what challenges you bring with you. That standard is that if you act in consciousness, you will get positive results. I didn't say if you act in consciousness, it'll feel good. I said if you act in consciousness, you will get positive results. And so there's only one thing that I have control over in my life. And that is to take full responsibility for everything in my life, even if I don't know how I manifested it. Now, there are some obvious things we can take. I'm bald because I shaved my head. I take full responsibility. In fact, my top of my head is peeling because I got it burned last time I went surfing, or time before I went surfing. So the karma of shaving my head is that I have a bald head. The karma of going out and not putting the sunblock on the top of my head here is that my top of my head got really sunburned, and it's peeling. But most people don't remember and don't take responsibility for the actions that they take. So the easiest thing to do to control Saturn and to defeat Saturn, if what you want to do is defeat negative karma, there is one thing that makes Saturn bow to you. And that is when you take full responsibility for everything in your life. Full responsibility means that you're willing to take different actions. It doesn't just mean feeling guilty or admitting surrender. It means if I got myself here, I can get myself out. And it's not about how I feel. So one of the biggest lessons that I've found with people that I work with is that it's very common for people to want to feel a certain way before they take action. And this is something that is a result of the 2,000 years of programming that has gone on in the world ever since the introduction worldwide of monotheist religion. Because monotheist religion puts all of the power onto this one deity. This is why people associate Saturn with Jehovah. Because in the Abrahamic narrative, Jehovah makes all of the decisions, and you just have to sit back and watch all the decisions that are made. I mean, let's look at it. According to the Abrahamic tradition, God, we don't know where this God came from, but God, Jehovah, I am that I am, creates the universe for his own pleasure and his own glory. And then he creates these beings that are supposedly in his likeness, and he makes them completely innocent, which means that he has complete control over them. He has them in a menagerie. And that's the thing about the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is a menagerie. It's like a fish tank. He's got them in this fish tank, and they aren't aware of who they are or anything else. They're in bliss. They're naked, which I guess is okay if you're innocent. But the moment that you stop being innocent, being naked is some kind of, tragedy. It's some kind of horrific sin. So the only thing that makes it a sin is that you become aware that you're naked. But if you're innocent, you know what I mean? This is having it's like having these innocent little animals inside of a cage, and you're like tapping on the glass. Oh, look there's Adam and Eve. Look at how cute they are. They have no idea who they are or what they're doing. They're so cute and they're naked. They have no idea all of the stuff they could be doing with that nakedness. That's so wonderful. And then Jehovah says, you can do anything you want. You're free. Don't worry about it. Your rent is taken care of. Your food. You don't need clothes because I keep it at a perfect 76 degrees, so you don't ever have to worry about putting clothes on. There's no nasty bugs. There is one snake in there, but if you don't pay any attention to him, you'll be all right. We got all these great fruit trees. But there's that one fruit tree over there, the one that looks really good. Don't eat that one. Yeah, put it in there, and you're innocent, which means that you don't have the power of choice. That's one of the things that is meant by that. Innocent means that you don't have the power of choice. You're just completely in the moment and spontaneous and following all of your impulses. But if you're innocent, all of your impulses are good. So this is the assumption behind all this. And this one being has all the power, and then he puts the tree in there to mess with you, and then says, don't eat it. Because if you'd eat it, then you'll be like me. And I don't want that. So it wasn't the serpent that tempted Adam and Eve, it was Jehovah. Jehovah was the one that said, don't eat of that fruit, the one right there. Which one? The third one on the left. Yeah, the one with the really pretty, that red, the shine. Yeah, that one. No, not that one. That one. Don't eat the fruit on that, because if you do, you'll have complete knowledge and awareness. And so you'll be like me. You'll be all powerful. So don't eat that one. I mean, he's the one that tempts Adam and Eve. He makes them innocent and then tempts them. And then the serpent comes along and just sort of kind of reflects back. So What kind of a mindfuck was that? He puts that there and he tells you not to eat it because he knows you'll be like him. I don't understand why you're not eating it. I would be eating it. I think you should eat it, but hey, it's up to you. And we blame the serpent and we blame Eve. Like, she sounds like she was the smart one. Yeah, let's eat this thing. What do you mean we should eat it? So we'll know what the hell's going on. And then everybody after that is punished for the actions that Adam and Eve took. So you're responsible for that. The moment that you're born, you are born with this guilt on you. You are already convicted before, and you haven't even done anything yet. And there's nothing you can do to get rid of that stain. And so this is the feeling that people have about their life. They feel like it has been done to them and placed upon them. And even though they didn't do anything to deserve it, they still deserve it. They're still worthless pieces of crap. And they have to suffer their punishment. And so people experience the karma that Saturn brings in that way, as though it came out of nowhere, that it was already there, and that you did nothing to bring it upon yourself, and there's nothing you can do to get rid of it. And so the only thing people do is sit around and complain all day. And they talk about the Saturn moon matrix and that there are beings of light who stand at the doorway, who tempt you, and who lie to you and tell you that, no, you have to go back and all this other stuff. And you have no control. You have no power. You're just this complete, total, utter weakling. And so let's think about that for a moment. If that's how you believe that the world works, which if you believe that Saturn is doing it to you, then you believe that you are an innocent victim, then what's the point in complaining? Why spend all the time complaining about it if you don't have any power to do anything about it? So complaining is only valuable if you have the power to do something about it, and then it's only valuable if you then choose to do something about it, which then you should only complain once, right? Because once you've complained, you've become aware of the thing you don't like, then take full responsibility and do something about it. So that's why I have a hard time feeling sorry for people who don't do anything to change their lives. They just sit around and complain. What's the point of that? I don't want to live like that. But Saturn is also the kingmaker because Saturn is karma. And kings and queens are, according to the mythology around kings and queens, they are placed in positions of authority. And that is, depending on how you look at it, that's God's will, or that's their karma to be placed in that position of power and authority. But kings and queens have tremendous responsibility. And in ancient times, as I understand it, in ancient times, pre-Christian times in Scandinavia at least, the king was seen as somebody who was responsible for all kinds of things. The weather, the prosperity, the health of their people. And if, for instance, a king was lording over a kingdom and the people were sick, or they were poor, or there was warfare, or there was, something like that, drought, famine, they'd kill him because he wasn't doing his job. He had all this responsibility. They believed that a king should have magical powers to be able to use his magical powers and authority to bring prosperity to his people. So the pre-Christian understanding was that we are responsible for our lives. And if anything comes in front of us that we would see as a challenge, that is an opportunity to prove our worthiness to be given power, to be given success, to be given prosperity. And we had to go take it. We had to go and create our lives. And we were encouraged to feel pride in our accomplishments and to feel the magical feeling of I can accomplish anything if I put my mind to it. That is a pre-Christian, polytheist understanding. And that was one of the things that was most difficult about the pre-Christian, like the Vikings and the Germanic tribes, was that, Christianity came around and said you have to submit to God and your will is nothing and you can't have any pride in yourself. And in fact, you should humble yourself, don't be haughty in front of God. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. My gods tell me to be full of self-confidence and to be proud of my achievements and to relish in overcoming obstacles, and then to take pride in the battles that I've won, the lands that I've conquered for myself. I'm supposed to have pride. And why would you not want that? And so that was very hard for them to, that's why they called Jesus the white Christ. It had nothing to do with race. It meant that he was weak. It meant that he was sickly. He was pale. It meant that he was sickly and pale and infirmed and weak. That's why they called him the white Christ. But that, if your face is full of, blood and you have red faced, because you're full of viv and vigor and you're going after things, that's what you wanted, to have that. So there are two faces to Saturn. There's the face of death and misery, and then there's the face of victory and prosperity. And we see this in the deities of Saturn. So you see this with Kali. I don't think I have a picture of Kali anywhere somewhere. So Kali is seen by the ignorant as the goddess of death. And she's very fearsome to look at. And she's mostly naked, and she has a necklace of skulls, and she has a skirt made of severed arms. And she has big fangs, and her tongue is out, and there's blood coming out of her mouth. It's very, very frightening to look at. Until you understand the significance of that, which is that she, being the goddess of Saturn, she is a Saturn goddess, she is chasing after those things within her children which are destroying them. Their negative psychological traits: self-hatred, shame, pride, ego, hatred, manipulation, fear, greed, all of these kinds of things. She is chasing after those things, and she sees those things within us as demons, and she is devouring the demons, trying to save her children. So her rage is against that which seeks to destroy our happiness. Now, if you are attached to your limitations, if you are attached to your greed, your fear, your insecurity, your self-hatred, if you've bought into that and you are attached to that, meaning that your identity is part of that. And let me be very clear. People identify with these negative things. This is why, if it weren't for the fact that we identify and feel safe with all of these negative attributes, everybody would wake up and just stop being, whatever their issue was. But we actually think that if we let go of these things, we'll die. We also think that if we let go of these things, that we will be rejected and unloved. So a lot of people run around with fear and misery and are angry and all that because on an unconscious level, meaning they're not aware of it, they think that that's who mommy and daddy wanted them to be. And so they hold on to that. To let go of that is frightening. So when Kali, the goddess of Saturn, one of the goddesses of Saturn, comes after you to liberate you, she says, "You're sick, and I am going to heal you whether you like it or not." And she's going to go in there and start chomping away on those things on you which are causing you problems. And that's why you see her as because you're attached to being miserable and whatever else. But if you're not attached and you are surrendering to your higher essence, to the part of you that does have the most joy and peace and prosperity for yourself and for others. When you surrender to that part of yourself, then she comes to you as this beautiful maiden. And so it all depends on you. What your attachment is will determine what she looks like. Same thing is true with the goddess Hela, the Norse goddess of the underworld, which means your unconscious. The underworld is your unconscious. So you may not know this, but if you don't achieve all of your desires in any given lifetime, then what ends up happening is that you take a trip to your unconscious. Your soul goes into the collective unconscious, which is also your unconscious, and has to face its issues before it decides to come back and then realize, oh yeah, that's right, I came here to go surfing. That was the point. Not be an actor in Hollywood. I came here to go surfing. That's right. And then you're reborn and you go back and you do whatever it is that you're here to do. And she is made up of two faces as well. One half of her is death. She is a corpse, a rotting corpse. And the other half is a beautiful maiden. So here we see the same thing. Depending on your attachments, that's going to determine how you see Saturn as it comes to you. But I'm here to tell you that there is one thing that Saturn must bow to. You can have complete control over the god or goddess of death, misery, old age. You can control this being by taking full responsibility. When you take full responsibility for everything in your life, every thought, every feeling, and every action that you take, Saturn must then bow down to you and obey you. And Saturn waits for this. And Saturn is like this weight that it weighs on top of you. And the more that you struggle against it, the heavier it becomes. And the more that you surrender, the lighter it becomes until it completely has no weight on you whatsoever. It's like a boa constrictor. You know, boa constrictor wraps around its prey and just squeezes. It doesn't change. It doesn't go stronger or, it doesn't squeeze and let go. It just squeezes at one consistent pressure. And whatever the prey is, at some point has to breathe, and in order to breathe, you have to exhale. The moment you exhale, it just closes, and then you can't inhale. And so you exhale even more to try and get some breath in, and it squeezes and squeezes until you can't inhale anymore. Then you suffocate. And this is what your karma does to you. So I want to give you a different understanding of how to deal with it. You've heard me talk about responsibility, but let me give you another way to look at it as well, which is that don't wait like the prey of the boa constrictor. Don't wait until you can inhale, because that's the mistake they make. The mistake they make, which, it's impossible not to under those conditions, but the mistake it makes is that if I exhale, I'll have more room to inhale. And that's like what people tell me when they say, I know what my soul desire is because we talked about it and you helped me realize what I truly want in my life. And I understand that that's what I'm supposed to do, and that's what the universe is waiting for me to do. And so I want to do that, but I don't feel like I can do it yet. I don't feel confident. I don't think I know what I'm doing. I don't think people will accept me. There'll be all these reasons why you can't take action. I just don't feel good about it. That's like, the boa constrictor squeezing you, and that's like, waiting for the oxygen to come. Isn't gonna do it. So imagine if you have action, which is responsibility, and that is going to be like a magical knife that cuts the boa constrictor off of you. So you don't have to feel anything. In fact, more than likely, depending on your past life negative challenging karma and your childhood issues that you grew up with, the more intense issues that you dealt with as a kid, the more difficult feelings you will have when you go after what you truly want. All negative karma that you get from your family, all negative imprint that you get from your family can be boiled down to one thing, which is that you have been shamed in some way, either directly or indirectly. You have been shamed for your own existence. And so in order to feel love, you act negatively towards yourself. That is the essence of all negative karma. I don't care if we're talking about Britney Spears or Adolf Hitler. They both suffer, whatever negativity they have in their life, they both suffer from the shame that on an unconscious level they don't deserve love, so they act out in all kinds of whatever ways you do or they do. And so what will happen when you become aware, when your soul that is not programmed by all this stuff, your soul says, no, what I want to do is I want to live in rainforest and surf every day. That's what I want. When you become aware of that, and then you go, oh, so maybe I should sell all my stuff and get on a plane and go somewhere in the South Pacific and live there and figure out how to make a living, in that environment. When you take action in that regard, then what's going to come up first is that snake of shame. It's going to come right in your face. And then you're not going to feel good. And you're going to feel stupid, silly, insecure, victimized, or you'll feel, whatever will come up. There will be a negative feeling that will try and stop you. And then you'll call me on the phone and you'll say, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I don't feel like it. It doesn't feel right. How can I feel good, Mahadeva, before I can take action? To which I say, who said you were supposed to feel good? You're just supposed to take the action. Taking action is a sign of taking full responsibility. This is why my ancestors said, those who die in battle go to Valhalla. They didn't say those who were full of self-confidence, those that were full of self-love. It says those that took action. Those that took action that was completely contrary to their survival instinct. So depending on how much garbage you have, you're going to have to overcome the really screwed up survival instinct you've been imprinted with, which is to shame yourself, demean yourself, self-sabotage, attack others, blame others, project onto others. And if you do the opposite of that and go after what you want, regardless of what all of your impulses are telling you to do, then you die in battle and you go to Valhalla. All right, so that's the main thing I wanted to talk to you about today, which was taking full responsibility. By the way, that's what this 90-day challenge is all about here. It's great that I sit here and I do all this talking, but the truth is my talk is, 2% of what I can do for you. The other 98% of what I can do for you is to actually show you step by step what I do. Because one of the things that you have tremendous power over is changing the energetic vibration in your body, which will connect your conscious mind and your brain and your intellect to your infinite soul. It'll give you sanity. It'll give you strength when you are going up against your own fear, your own negative feelings. That's what this is all about. So to be a part of that, go to thunderwizard.com and click on whatever buttons you need to find, you may have to look for it, find the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. And unlike now, as I'm sitting here talking to you, you just simply press play and I do the practices with you, the practices that change the energy vibration in your body. And in the morning, what we do is we do some Kundalini exercises. Very mild, very easy yogic stuff that anybody can do. Trust me, now that I'm where I'm at in life and I've had the injuries that I've had, I can't bend myself into a pretzel anymore like I used to when I was, in my 30s. So it's real easy yogic stuff with some breathing and other things like that, which actually connect you to the uh, to the compass of your soul, which guides you towards the right direction. And then I give you a practice and a meditation that I help you in midday, which helps you sort of realign. Because sometimes after you do it, your stuff kicks in and you gotta realign. And then a very powerful nighttime practice where we work on qigong, which is connecting directly to the power of the universe, and you connect your heart to your navel. And so the navel is your unconscious mind, and what you end up doing is programming from your soul. You end up programming your unconscious mind, which of course controls everything. And then you have a mantra, and the combination of mantra and qigong together, in my experience, is the most powerful way to intend your reality. So go there to check that out. All right, so I don't know if we have any people on here today, but if so, I will answer any questions. Looks like we got about 17 people. There's one question here, Joe01 question. What to do when victim feelings come swelling inside oneself? Well, again, this is I saw when you wrote that. So you wrote that. I didn't read it, but I saw the question pop up. And I've just gone through telling you exactly what to do. But the underlying assumption of that question is that your feeling is what's most important. And the victim feeling overwhelms you, which then stops you from taking action. And so, as I say to everybody, who said you were supposed to do anything about that feeling? It's just a feeling. Feelings don't have any power. They can't, they have power, but they can't force you to take action. In fact, you take action all the time that goes against your feelings. Because we always have two conflicting feelings going on all the time. We're always filled with love and hate. We're filled with fear and self-confidence. We're filled with self-love and self-sabotage. All the time we're filled with these dual feelings all the time. The truth is that you've been trained to take action on the negative ones. You have not been trained to take action on the positive ones. In fact, when the positive ones come up, your imprint then creates these other negative ones to sort of drown it out. So what to do is acknowledge the feeling. The whole tapping, the tapping guys, those guys have a great conscious affirmation, which is, even though I have this feeling, I thoroughly and completely accept myself. Even though I have this feeling, I thoroughly and completely accept myself. That's consciousness. And that states that the feeling doesn't have the power to change my self-acceptance. If you accept yourself, you are saying, I take responsibility for my existence, and I'm going to take action. So the other thing I don't know about JO01 is, do you know what your soul desire is? Have you learned how to connect to your soul and listen to what your soul wants to do? Because if you don't know that, then these feelings, victim feelings that overcome you, can be really difficult, because then you don't have any alternative in your conscious awareness. So it's really important to learn how to become conscious of what your soul wants. Because your soul, if your soul wants something, your soul is God, the creator of the universe. And if your soul wants something, it means that it has the power to direct all of the infinite forces of the universe to come and serve you as you follow that path. People want to talk about, I just want to know what God's will is. And if God, does that mean if God told you to sit on God's will is for you to sit on a street corner and panhandle for the rest of your life? Does that mean you'd go, oh, okay, that sounds like a really awful life, but if that's what you want, I'll go do that. Now at least I know. I don't have to think for myself. I'll just go do what I'm told. But your God's will is your soul's desire. But as I've said, depending on what you went through as a kid or what you brought with you from past life challenges, you might not be able to see that very easily. And what will happen is you have been trained to actually divert yourself away from what your soul wants. Zach Johnson. So the two most important things in life are to pay attention and to put effort. So what do you see right next to my right arm here? To your left. What do you see that's in a big yellow box? Do you see a website? If you go to that website, guess what will happen? It will tell you exactly what that is. I just got through telling you what the 90-day thing was. I just got through telling you what it is. So I believe in your power to determine for yourself what it is. Go and click on that link and go find out. Let's see. What is that? A chair. What does that mean? Anyway. All right, I'm not seeing a lot of questions here. So, you know what happens when we don't have questions, then I got to either entertain you or sell you stuff or both. So while we're waiting for that, you can go to thunderwizard.com like I just suggested that Zach Johnson do. You can go to thunderwizard.com and see what the 90-day challenge is all about. While I'm waiting for you to think of a question for me about anything that I teach, let us listen to one of my favorite subscribers here. Hey there, pay attention. This is Arnold. I have a very important announcement. I am going to be running for President of the United States for 2020. Listen to me now and vote for me later. Hi, this is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm going to be running for the President of the United States of the world. Listen, the United States is the most pumped country in the world. We have the most pumped people. We have the most pumped democracy the world has ever seen. We used to be so pumped in the world. Everybody had respect for us. My God, we were so totally pumped. Nobody would dare look us in the eyes. We won every single war there ever was. We won the War of Independence. We said to you, hey, England, you British Empire, forget about you. We are more pumped than you. And we won that war. And then there was the First World War. We won that. Here, Europe was fighting with itself. European countries were saying, hey, I don't like you. Hey, I don't like you. They're fighting like that. And then America, looking from across the ocean, said, hey, what are you guys doing? What's wrong with you? Come on, knock it off. And we came over there and we won that war. And then there was the Second World War. And it was all the same kind of things going on. Europe is fighting with each other and the Nazis are taking over all of Europe. And then they start bombing London. And we're watching. And then finally the Japanese come to us and they slap us in the face. And we go, hey, what's going on here? What's wrong with you guys? And we went to the whole world and we pumped and we flexed in front of the whole world. And we won that war too. But that's not what's happening anymore. The United States is not as pumped as it used to be. Nobody respects us like they used to before. Now we are old and flabby and out of shape. We put a big smile on our face and say, hey, we're the United States. Yeah, we're still pumped. But we got this guy running the whole country who thinks that he can just grab the whole world by the private parts. And the world is going, hey, you cannot grab me there anymore. I don't think you are pumped. And they're not listening to us. But I'm telling you now, and you are going to vote for me later, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to make the world a better place because I am going to pump up the United States one more time. And I know, yeah, they say, Arnold, you cannot be president. You were not born here. Hey, it doesn't matter if this guy who becomes the worst kind of idiot in the world goes around grabbing the world by its private parts. This guy can become president. I'm going to say, as Lord Pindar, ruler of the universe, I am going to say that I, Arnold Schwarzenegger, can become president if I decide to. So my new catchphrase is, make America pumped again. But in reality, we're going to make the world pumped again. And when I become president, I am going to legislate the first thing that I do when I get into office. I'm going to sign the thing. I'm going to hold it up to the camera. And then everybody is required to go to thunderwizard.com and they're going to subscribe. They're going to hit the bell button. they're going to subscribe to the YouTube channel, then they're going to go to thunderwizard.com website, and then they're going to subscribe there too. And then they're going to go to courses.thunderwizard.com, and they're going to buy all of the products, all of the books, all of the services that this guy, I'm telling you, the Shaminator, that guy is really, really pumped in the spirit. He's going to pump you up so good spiritually, you're not even going to believe it. So that's it. Get ready, because here I come, world. The world is going to get pumped again, and there's nothing you can do about it. All right, I'll talk to you later. All right. Did I see a question? I think one question popped up. So I guess that's better than nothing. Again, 90-day challenge. I find that kind of funny. I was talking about it and somebody says, what is the 90-day challenge? And I said, what's to the left of me? And he says, a chair. You got this thing right there. All right. So Zach Johnson, no, not Zach, JO1 question again. Can negative feelings come from refusing oneself true path? I suppose that that's the case. My experience is that negative consequences come from refusing your soul, your true path, which of course creates negative feelings, but really the negative feelings are coming from your conditioned response. You know, we are born in a family and we are conditioned from the moment that we're born. From the moment that we're born, and the conditioning can be good conditioning. So it's not, you know, not all conditioning is either good or bad. It could be, you know, one or both or a combination. And it really is everything. And so if a parent is able to truly love a child unconditionally, which almost never happens, and the only being really able to do that is a mother, a conscious mother. You know, and you see those paintings of the Mother Mary holding the baby Jesus, and she has a very calm, neutral, with a slight smile on her face, and the baby is looking up in her eyes. That is, she is reflecting back to the child without any agenda who he really is, and he is seeing himself in her. When you see mothers coo with children, you know, the child will go, ba, and she goes, ba, and they go back and forth. She's reflecting back, this is you, this is who you are. And when parents allow children to have their feelings without, number one, kowtowing to them, you know, to every one of their demands, you know, having boundaries, and at the same time, allowing them to have their negative feelings and not punishing them for that, then the child learns that it's okay to have negative feelings and that you can take different results. But if you have parents that say, stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about, you know, then you've got somebody who gets the feeling it's not okay to have negative feelings. And so they either do one of two things. Either they stuff their negative feelings down and deny them, or they're constantly, you know, getting negative attention by acting out in a negative way so that somebody will acknowledge their negative feelings. So my experience is that your negative feelings come as a way to distract you from your soul, not as a result. So it makes me wonder if you guys are familiar with the video playlist on my channel, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life, which is also one of my books. Courses.thunderwizard.com will take you to my books. Go watch that. Again, if you're new to this channel, the thing that you want to do is actually spend time watching my videos. If you're able to, I recommend that you get the books and that you do the exercises that I give. Don't just sit here and listen to me talk. That's, like I said, that's 2%. My job is to motivate you to go do the work. You have to do the physical work of changing the vibration in your body, and then you have to know what actions to take. Otherwise, just sitting here listening to me talk is almost useless. Ricky Green question. What would you recommend as best practices to work through a spiritual rut? First off, you're assuming that you know what a spiritual rut is. I don't know. I would much rather hear your feelings than you making the judgmental, intellectual assessment of whether or not it's in a spiritual rut. I don't know if it's a spiritual rut or not. You might be, for the first time, having a real spiritual experience, but it's not what you think or what you expect. So perhaps you think it's a rut. Maybe you're actually having a psychological rut. Maybe you're like somebody's already talked about. You're having a lot of negative feelings and you think that's a spiritual rut. Maybe it is a spiritual rut. I don't know what that is. When you're doing everything that you've learned, but spiritually everything is silent and feels absent. Well, there's another assumption. Who said that when you're doing everything you've learned of, again, I don't know, from me, have you learned, all the stuff that I've taught you and you're doing all the things that I've taught you, but spiritually everything is silent? Well, who said that it wasn't supposed to be that way? So you think that by being spiritual, what's supposed to happen? The gods are supposed to appear in front of you, or you're supposed to see angels or hear voices. What is it that's an assumption. So I would recommend doing some research into what spirituality is and from what tradition. If we're talking about Buddhism, they would say, no, now you finally found the silence and now you get to find yourself. If we're talking about from a planetary perspective, we have the planet Ketu, which is the most spiritual planet we have, which is the planet of emptiness. If you work with Ketu, you'll see that everything will start to disappear out of your life. You'll lose, all the possessions, you'll lose relationships, it'll just be you and yourself in this emptiness. So that's why I said when I first read that, you're imposing on spirituality. So I'm not judging it, but it sounds like what you want from spirituality is to have a certain feeling. And I don't know if that's what you're meant to have. And then you say, yes, your books and working my practice through them along with these videos. So I don't know that I ever said that spirituality was supposed to be anything different than that. I don't know that I ever said spirituality was anything. The only thing that I'm aware of that I'm teaching is that if you become aware of the joy, what gives you joy, that is your soul commanding you on what you're supposed to do, what you came here to do, and what will make the universe bow down to you. I've never said that if you do that, you'll feel any certain way. In fact, I myself have to, everything I say on here, I'm also talking to myself. There are sometimes, like this latest thing, which I'm really happy with, this 90-day challenge. That came to me as a result of me asking my soul, how can I be more helpful to people, and I was filled with this inspiration of, what I need to do is stop doing all of the talking and actually do the work with them so that they can do it with me. So instead of me laying out, A, B, C, D, F, and G, now go do it, I do it with them. And the key to being able to transform your life is, on the one of them is to change the vibration in the cells of your body so that you have the energy to shift your awareness so that you can then take the action. But I never said that it would make you feel a certain way. You will get some feelings, but there was this one guy who I saw as a spiritual teacher. If you met him, you wouldn't have thought it, but I look at him that way, and he said, feelings are bullshit. And what he meant by that was, it doesn't matter how you feel. What matters is knowing what actions to take and taking them, whether you feel anything. It's just not, don't bring your feelings into the equation. Just focus on what it is you're supposed to do. You know, the only feeling that I care about, I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to feel good all the time. And I put all my effort into feeling good all the time. So it's not that I've given up on that. I do all kinds of things to feel good. But the only feeling I'm really interested in is the feeling of joy that comes up when I become conscious of what my soul wants. And that joy may only be a spark that will last for 1 second. It's not a state that I expect to live in all the time. It would be great if I could, and I will jump at that if that happens. It just means that you know, the bat signal has flashed on and showed me which direction to go. And then once I see where I'm supposed to go, then I take all of whatever energy I have and put it towards taking that action. I don't sit around waiting for the feeling to come, and I don't judge any of my feelings. And I'm still like everybody else. I will have negative feelings and fear and self-doubt and sometimes crippling. I mean, I'm no different than you guys. Sometimes I'm crippled by my self-doubt and my shame and my embarrassment and my ego and all of that stuff. Fear, it cripples me as well. But I've learned enough to just keep taking action. Sometimes when I'm at my worst, that's when I know I'm supposed to take action. So to do this 90-day challenge, I literally had to drag myself down into the garage here and do it. I had to force myself to do it. It wasn't something that felt good at all. And I had to then force myself to edit it. And then I had to force myself to upload it. And then I had to force myself to make the videos, you know, encouraging people to go do it. It was work. And the hardest work was taking action in spite of my feelings. And the only thing I know to help people with is to, if you want what I have, you got to do what I do. And the end result of all of that is I'm sitting here in this beautiful house in Queensland, Australia, which has 0 COVID cases, 0. And I'm able to go and without wearing a mask, I can interact with people. I can go sit in restaurants, and I can walk across the street here and walk through the rainforest and listen to the cockatoos and the weird sounding birds, and go walk on empty beaches with warm water and surf and look at amazing women walking around in bikinis that does all kinds of uncomfortable things to me. And, you know, I get to do that because I continue to take action when that thing pops up inside of me, even when I have crippling fear, self-doubt, you know, self-negativity. You know, one of the things that, I don't, there are some teachers out there that I would love to name some names who are very popular on YouTube. And I think they're doing people a tremendous disservice, because these people allow themselves to be seen as these fully enlightened beings who have no issues. You know, and people ask them these questions, you know, and these people respond as though they're just sitting on this cloud of, you know, and I think those are the worst, most destructive teachers out there, because nobody there relates to him or her. Everybody sitting there wants to become them and sits there, and when you leave, you may feel all of this euphoria and all that, but the message is that you're inferior to that guy, and that he's reached some level of plateau that you don't really understand, and you want to get there, but you know, and so instead you're going to just be part of this big massive crowd of sheep that goes and licks his toes. And you know, there's a reason why the Buddhists say if you see Buddha on the side of the road, kill him. Because when you see somebody who you think is perfect, it distracts you from your own path. And I go out of my way when I remember to let you guys know how human I am. and that the only difference between me and you, perhaps, is that I take some actions that maybe you have difficulty taking. But if you can accept the fact that the worst, imagine when your feelings are the worst, your fear, your self-hatred, your victim mentality, know that I experience those same feelings on a daily basis. And I'm being totally serious about that. And yet, when people follow my directions, and follow my directions to the letter and do them consistently, their lives get better. They become more prosperous. They become more healthy. I never guarantee that you're going to be happy all the time. In fact, I tell you, if you take action on your soul desire, you might feel worse before you feel better. So, outside of that, there's nothing more I can do. So I was thinking about that. I can't sit there and yell at you guys all day to stop worrying about your feelings and just go take action. So instead I created this. I said, okay, I'll just do the exercises and they can do them with me. And that way we are doing it together. I say on the bottom here, do it every day with me. I'm meaning that. Then you get to do the same thing I do every day. And you don't have to do it perfectly. You don't have to be perfect or feel perfect. The only thing you have to do is just take the action. And the truth is, the amount of energy it takes to take an action is this much. The amount of energy it takes to talk yourself into the action is this much. But if we can learn to just do it without having to talk ourselves into it, we'll just be a lot better off. This is what discipline is about, talking about Saturn. Saturn is about discipline. Saturn is about getting up every day at 4 o'clock and doing this and following, no matter what, just following A, B, C, D, F, and G. Saturn is the discipline of when you go to train with a traditional Chinese teacher. You walk in and you say, "Hi, Sifu, I'm here to learn whatever it is." And they say, "Okay, go stand in the corner on one leg." And if you ask why, they say, "Never mind, there's the door." Or if you ask how long, if they're nice to you, they'll say, "When I tell you to stop." But you don't ask, "Why am I doing it?" "Why am I doing it?" There's the door. The understanding is that you don't know any better and he does, and just do what he says and you'll get what he has. And so you go and you do it, and standing in the corner on one leg, while you do it and you're shaking and sweating, and you've been there for 45 minutes and you're still trying to hold it and you think you're going to die, and every second is torture. Every second you hold that posture is torture, is teaching you how to take action regardless of your feelings. Yoga is the same way. Meditation. People say, "I can't meditate." Why can't you meditate? Because I can't empty my mind. Who said you were supposed to empty your mind? You're just supposed to, whatever the discipline is. That's why I do mantra meditation, because I have a mantra and I just do the mantra, and then whatever feelings come up, come up. But I can't empty my mind. Who said you were supposed to empty your mind? Why don't you just observe it? Observing your mind, observing your feelings gives you the ability to have all your thoughts and feelings and impulses and not take any action on them. And then the meditation is life. Life becomes the meditation where you have thoughts, feelings, impulses, reactions, and you go, but the conscious action is this, and that's what I'm going to do, regardless of how you feel. When you say thank you to people, when you want to tell them to go fuck off, when you put on your turn signal and what you want to do is cut the guy off in front of you, when you follow these kinds of things, regardless of how you feel, people thank you and they say, "Thank you. I love being around you. You're so polite and you're so down to earth, and inside you're going crazy." That's what happens with me a lot of times. So if I made my point, this isn't about becoming or feeling anything. Listen, this is why I come down so hard on the love and light crowd that teaches, what is that thing I'm constantly coming up against? The Secret. Because that is all about the exact opposite. Think about what you're told. If you have positive thoughts and feelings, positive things will happen to you. And all of the people who are in that movement are people who are filled with all kinds of negative feelings, who want to get out of their negative feelings all the time. And so here's somebody saying, the thing to do is to feel good all the time, and I'll teach you how to do that. You'll teach me how to feel good all the time and I don't have to feel all this garbage? Great, I want that. How do I do that? Well, you just think positive stuff. I can do that. And then what ends up happening is that you end up in this negative cycle where after a while you can't force yourself to think positive thoughts and feelings, and then you start judging yourself, and then you start stuffing that down and pretending that you have good thoughts and feelings because you're on the boat with Zohar the Magnificent and all of the beings that she's channeling, and she's got people coming up who come up and give this great after you've done all the deep breathing and all that kind of stuff, and everybody's kind of stoned out and thumbs up with each other, and then somebody comes up and says, I've been practicing positive affirmations for blah blah blah, and my life is amazing and I have no problems and this is the great. And then somebody says, isn't that awesome? Is that the same for you? And you go, yes, yeah, that's me. I'm full of positivity. And then you go home and then you feel like shit, and then you work twice as hard, and then your life is miserable. That's why I hate that stuff. You can't just be human. My path is so much easier. You just figure out what it is that you want and go after it, and you don't have to spend any time worrying about how you feel about it. Just go do it. These are the same people who say, people say you have to work hard for your goals, but you don't have to do that. If you just sit on the edge of your bed and imagine it, it'll happen for you. It just doesn't work like that. It's never worked like that. That's like the icing on the cake. The icing on the cake is if you have a positive vibration because you've been taking action towards what you want, then people vibe on that and they feel that and they respond positively to it. But that's an after effect. So when it comes to feeling good is the result. It's not the first cause of the action, it's the result of the action. You want big muscles? You go to the gym and you lift weights. The result of lifting weights is you get big muscles. It's the result after the action. It's so much easier. My path is easier. All right, what else? Yeah, very good. So Ricky, I'm just reminding you of what I've already said and what you already know. But see, that's the other thing too, is that I can sit here, and this is also amazing to me as well, because I will tell people all, everything that needs to be said, and then they'll come back and they'll say, yeah, I know, but I feel like this. And I want to roll my eyes, but I know, because what ends up happening is that when the feeling hits you, you forget everything. You forget where you were, and you forget where you're going. You think, I feel this way now. I've always felt this way. I'm always going to feel this way. And you forget that everything changes. The good news is that there are some things that can, over time, continue to change. There are times where you can be in states of bliss. And it's bliss that you've actually earned from the actions that you've taken. But to get back to the point of this video, the most powerful tool you have, which has nothing to do with how you feel, is taking full responsibility. I got myself here. I can get myself out of here. And you have to take responsibility for the choices that you've made. I was just watching, did you watch the Netflix thing about the murder in America? I forget the guy's name. Guy who ended up killing his wife and his 2 daughters. And I sit there and I watch that, and what I see is, I think there was definitely some weird stuff that happened in his childhood where he's got some definite mommy issues. No two ways about that. But, he ended up married to a controlling woman. I'm not judging her. You can just tell she was just kind of controlling. And he continued to just do everything that she said, and he was constantly, he wouldn't challenge her in any way. And he ended up with 2 kids, and then for whatever reason, he wasn't happy anymore. It all built up. And instead of taking responsibility and sitting his ass down and saying, I chose to be here, I chose to have these 2 kids, I chose to be with this woman who's got some emotional issues and can be controlling, but now she's starting to really want to make that work. I'm just going to take full responsibility, and I'm going to go ahead on and make this thing work. He didn't take responsibility. Now he's in jail for the rest of his life. He didn't take responsibility, and his impulses and his feelings dictated his actions. And as much as it sounds like I'm cavalierly, superficially, making a judgment about it, no matter how difficult that would have been for him, it's still the truth. And, I don't know where he is now. I haven't talked to him in years. Unless something has changed, which I'm totally open if things have changed for him. Last time I heard, my brother, who grew up in the same house as me, had the same parents as me, had the same opportunities as me, he's living on the street panhandling, and he blames the whole world, including me. I did it to him. Even though I've had almost no contact with him throughout my adult life. He takes no responsibility. And he's been given every opportunity to get off the street. He's been given every opportunity to get his life together, and he doesn't. And as painful as it must be, he had the same mom and dad that I have, so I know why he is the way that he is. But he didn't take responsibility. And he chooses to continue to not take responsibility, at least the last time I saw him. One of the most powerful times in my life was when I must have been 19, 20, 21 years old. And I'm not going to get into all the things that were going on in my life, but I was miserable and suicidal. And I was thinking about, why can't anything in my life work? Why can't I have this? Why can't I have that? And I sat there and I said, you know what? I'm wasting my time. Wasting my time feeling sorry for myself, which is not the same as having your feelings. I was feeling sorry for myself. Instead, I said, I'm not accomplishing anything here. And then I said to myself, you know what? Let's just assume this is as good as it's ever going to get. And I just said, that's it. This is as good as it's ever going to get. Let's just accept that. And that may sound really defeatist to you, but what happened is I stopped trying to change how I felt. And I stopped trying to change things that seemed out of my control. And I started working on little things that I could do. So for instance, for me today, like I'm going to go to the gym today. Because one thing I know is when I go to the gym and I lift really hard, it sends all kinds of chemicals in my brain and my body. And when I come home, I feel hopeful. It also tires me out and I sleep well. I feel better. So sometimes it's just as simple as I'm going to get up off my ass and go to the gym. I know that when I surf, it magically fixes me. But it doesn't mean when I wake up at dawn that what I want to do is jump out of bed and go smiling down to the beach. That's the last thing I want to do. I feel like I don't want to go anywhere, and it's cold, and I'm tired, and I do it anyway. Because I know if I do that little thing, I take that responsibility. I know those 2 things make me feel better no matter what. If I just do those 2 things, that'll get me in a better frame of mind, and then I can take action. I know that when I do the morning practice here, that I show you here, I become connected to my soul, and I know what my soul wants. Taking responsibility for the little things that you can do, regardless of how you feel. and your life will get better. And then if it's not perfect enough and you still have all kinds of feelings, you can come onto the channel and listen to me tell you that I still have those same feelings as you. The difference is that I'm not in a 1-bedroom, studio apartment in the middle of South Central LA wondering how I'm going to pay my rent, which is what was going on, 6 or 7 years ago. All right. I don't have anything else to say. I don't see any questions here, so I'm gonna go. So that's it for me. I hope you're all doing well. Stay safe. The definition of irony is Donald Trump has COVID. That is the definition of irony right there. The 90-day challenge, go check it out. The best way to support the channel. You want to keep me on? Go there and subscribe. I never give empty subscriptions. Every time you subscribe for me, subscribe to my channel on whatever level, you get massive amounts of teaching that you'll not get anywhere else. Courses.thunderwizard.com. Subscribe and hit the bell button. I'll see you guys later. Stay safe and stay healthy. And I'll see you all when I see you.